Hi everyone, today we'll talk about the movie Little Big Soldier. During the Great War, China was divided into many provinces. In 227 BC, troops from Wei Province set out to conquer Liang Province. They were met by an ambush of Liang soldiers on Mount Phoenix and a bloody massacre ensued. Both sides suffered significant losses. 3,000 warriors died. In the midst of the battlefield rises a nameless soldier who used an arrow to pretend to have died. He starts checking the other soldiers to see if any of them are alive and to find supplies for the rough journey home. In the middle of the battlefield, he spots two warriors fighting, one of whom is from the enemy province of Wei. By the time the enemy warrior wins, he's left extremely exhausted and wounded, and so the soldier decides to capture him and take him along, so as to be rewarded back home. On the way home, he hums a cheerful ethnic song about the welfare and prosperity of his native land. He examines his prisoner for any fatal wounds and states that there appear to be no deep wounds, but a great deal of blood has been lost. He covers the wound of the enemy soldier with his healing remedy, a family recipe he rarely shares with outsiders. A small conversation ensues. The soldier mentions his wise father, who said that it is not shameful to fear death, but it is shameful to die without leaving a trace. All of a sudden, the soldier is attacked by an enemy soldier and is supposedly killed in the fight. The enemy soldier refers to the captured man as a general, but the general is not happy to see him. It turns out that when the massacre at Mount Phoenix was underway, this soldier sat quietly nearby, and the general calls him a deserter. Suddenly, the unnamed soldier gets back up, evidently having faked his own death. He calls the general a cruel man. The general asks him to finish him off and not to torture him, but he replies that he doesn't kill prisoners. Even if he begs for it, the soldier will take pity and let him go, but he won't kill him. Eventually, he says that he doesn't want to get his hands dirty, and if the general wants it so badly, he'll have to do it himself. The soldier puts the knife near the general. The general doesn't hesitate and takes several attempts to kill himself. The knife, however, turns out to be a fake, another one of the soldier's tricks. In the meantime, a search operation for the general is held nearby. The general asks how much the soldier would get paid for bringing him in. The soldier replies that 5 acres of fertile land are usually awarded for the capture of a live general. The general then says that he has a medallion made of jade around his neck and that it's worth a lot, but the soldier doesn't believe him. They reach a nearby village, but there's not a soul in sight. After a while, they meet a beautiful woman who had been brought there by the Wei Province warriors for entertainment. The woman says she's been looking for some wisdom in these parts and whispers something into the general's ear. As they talk, she slips sleeping pills into the soldier's wine flask. He drinks from it and gives the general a sip too. They both end up passing out. In his slumber, the soldier dreams that the general freed himself from the ropes and attacked him. In the end, the general loses the battle and the soldier has no choice but to bring his decapitated head back. At first, the locals are happy and even want to give him a reward and land. But later, a man in the crowd says that the soldier is a deserter who simply took the head off the already dead general. The soldier is immediately executed. When he wakes up, the soldier discovers that he's been deceived by the beautiful woman. She stole his horse and their provisions while they slept. Now, the soldier will have to drag the general around on his own 2 feet. On his way, he meets a poor, starving boy who apparently came from the same desolate village that got destroyed in the battle between Wei and Liang provinces. He feels pity for the boy and offers him a rice cake. As they make their way down the street, they meet a group of poor villagers desperately looking for supplies. The villagers have a fit of rage in response to the general's taunting and decide to beat him up. The soldier, however, stands up for the general and pleads for their mercy. He offers for them to take the wagon with everything they had left in it in exchange for their lives. He tricks the villagers by saying that this man he's carrying around is actually his son, his stupid son who decided to go to war. That's why he's tied up and they're headed back home. The two are sent on their way, and after some time, the soldier starts talking about his brothers. His older brother was a good soldier and died on the battlefield. His younger brother was an honest man but ended up dead too. He asks the general if he had any brothers, and the general replies that he wished he hadn't. The soldier notices a detachment nearby and, as luck would have it, the detachment is led by the very general's brother. The detachment approaches a villager who claims to have seen the men in the woods. The villager can't answer their questions though, as he doesn't know where the men were headed. Thus, he gets killed. As they hide under a waterfall, the general tells the soldier that his father was right It is shameful to die without leaving a trace. He hints at the fact that the general's brother isn't out to save him. He's out to kill him. He says he'll keep going with the soldier. At the edge of the forest, the soldier sets a rabbit trap and an argument breaks out between him and the general. The general says that war always needs a winner. He says this is the only way to unite lands in order for people like the soldier to live their little lives. The soldier says that if Wei Province had not gone to war with Liang Province, he would have been able to live his honest life and pursue farming. After a while, the soldier brings in a rabbit, but he notices that it's pregnant and let it go, claiming that this is something his father taught him to do. A messenger falls off his horse nearby. While the soldier is busy checking him out, the general mounts the messenger's horse and gets away. The soldier and messenger are both caught by the detachment led by the general's brother and are questioned about the general's whereabouts. The soldier claims that he doesn't know, as the general had just gotten away from them. They don't believe him. The soldier manages to escape death thanks to yet another one of his arrow tricks. During the search, the detachment stumbles upon some wild nomads. The soldier pretends to be wounded again using his arrow and, posing as an exhausted victim of the detachment, simply walks past the nomads, leaving the two groups alone with each other. Meanwhile, the horse that the general stole turns out to be wounded and exhausted, which had caused the general to fall off it nearby. At the Tree of Wisdom, the general approaches the edge of the mountain and shouts that he isn't afraid of anyone. He loudly proclaims that the detachment sent out to find him is just a bunch of deserters without honor, as is his brother, just like the soldier that was afraid to fight on the battlefield. The unnamed soldier lodges nearby for the night, and an exhausted sparrow flies in. He wraps the bird up so that it doesn't die on the night cold and falls asleep. In the morning, he meets the woman who had previously drugged him and the general. At first, he wants to take the horse away from her, but then he feels pity for her and gives her the horse after all, as well as a map that his father made for him a long time ago. He adds that the Tree of Wisdom the woman was looking for was marked on the map. Struck by how noble the soldier is, she gives him the jade medallion that she stole from him in his sleep. After a while, the sparrow that the soldier had wrapped up flies away. As he follows it, he stops at a dried-up field. He pours the last of the water he had on a single sprout of a rice plant and hums that same ethnic song to himself, the one about the welfare and prosperity of his native land. The soldier ends up getting caught by the nomads and sent to their camp, where dozens of village laborers from the outskirts have gathered, including the general. They meet again, but their moment of bliss doesn't last long. The nomads, as it turns around, had arranged an exchange with the detachment. The general's brother finds him among all the men, but the general sparks chaos between the groups after sending a sharp kick into a nomad's horse. In the turmoil, the soldier and the general manage to escape, but they start arguing again and fall into a cave nearby. They find themselves walled in. Sitting in the cave, the general dreams of seizing every piece of land and having his own tomb that would hold all the wealth he collects. And the soldier, having healed the general's wounds with his remedy, would be his chief healer. He says that had it not been for the war, they could well have become best friends. The general promises that if he survives, not a stone on the territory of Liang Province will ever tremble for 10 years. But in return, he asks the soldier that if he survives, he will tell Liang's rulers that the general fought and died on the battlefield as a true warrior. They fall asleep, and in the morning, they make their way out of the cave. The soldier recognizes his immediate surroundings and rejoices, saying that his home province is only half a day's journey away. Soon, they are intercepted by the general's brother and his best mercenary. He informs the general that their father, who's been in poor health since before the war, had passed away, and thus the general has become an heir. Only one of the two can become the ruler of Wei Province. But the general's brother can't bring himself to kill the general, as the two were raised together. The nomads soon reach them, and a battle ensues. The general helps his brother, standing shoulder to shoulder with him in the battle. The nomads soon surround them, though, as they greatly outnumber them. The soldier loses possession of his jade medallion during the battle. In the end, the general's brother kills himself, understanding that the nomads came specifically for him. He asks his brother if this was a dignified death. The soldier and the general sail in a canoe to Liang Province. The unnamed soldier reminisces about his brothers, family, and father. He says that he and his brothers always wanted to be good warriors. After being drafted into the army for 3 years, they return to find their village razed to the ground. He adds that before their father's death, he said that everyone in his family was a patriot. But when would these wars end? The father asked his sons that at least one of them stay alive to continue the lineage, and now he was all alone in the world. They hear a beautiful song sung on the mountainside somewhere nearby. It's the same woman, and she's found the Tree of Wisdom. The general says that she whispered the word reckoning in his ear that night. They reach Liang. The soldier unfurls his flag. The general asks the soldier if he is the soldier's prisoner or the enemy. The soldier replies that he's neither. He cuts the rope from the general's hands and tells him to run away. When asked why he was letting him go just like that, the soldier said that the general had lost his brother, and one brother has to live on. Sailing away, the general shouts that he hasn't forgotten his promise, and that not a stone will be touched for the next 10 years in Liang Province. The general adds that the jade medallion the soldier took is worth a lot. It can be exchanged for land and money. The soldier says he knows, and that he found it. In reality, though, he doesn't have it anymore. He walks up the dock with his flag, but finds that the soldiers of Wei Province have conquered Liang. He is greeted by the boy he first treated to a rice cake. The Wei Province soldiers ask him to kneel and throw away his flag or die. The soldier is at a loss and doesn't understand what's going on. The general, on his way home, hums the ethnic song about the happiness and welfare of the native land. The soldier used to sing this song, and the beautiful girl on the mountainside did too. The soldier shouts that not all of Liang's warriors are dead, as he's still here. The general continues to hum the song while the soldier is shot on the dock. The soldier, nevertheless, stands his ground and apologizes to his father for failing to continue their lineage. The nameless soldier dies without lowering the flag. That same sparrow he once warmed up flies up to him. After returning home, the general didn't take part in any more wars. When Wei Province was beset upon by Liang Province, he surrendered without resistance. Ordinary people and soldiers lived in peace, and the Liang Province eventually united all provinces as it continued its campaigns into the neighboring territories in 221 AD. There's a subtle theme of morality that can be seen running throughout the film, expressed through the idea of reckoning. This is what the woman said to the general at the beginning. It's almost as if this beautiful woman was the very symbol of reckoning, dressed in her white robe and accompanying the characters throughout the course of the film. Every day, we make one choice over another. The warriors of both provinces died at Mount Phoenix for their views in a senseless war. This was their reckoning. The general lost his brother, who he grew up with, and the nameless soldier paid for his pride with his life, admitting that he had been a coward.